This is a local community theater production, and these are individually controllable LED lights attached to the theater's DMX system. But it's not being controlled with expensive hardware. Actually, it's running on a couple Arduinos, and this whole project cost less than $200 to build. Here's how we did it. First, start off with a clean workstation. One second. These are WS2811 lights. Anyone can become any color, yet there's only 3 wires, positive, negative, and a 1 signal wire to control all of them. There are 300 lights here, which I got on Amazon for 30 bucks, I think. They run on 5 volts power, and they're surprisingly simple to control with just a basic circuit. So there's only 3 wires involved here. 2 power wires, positive and negative, which I've already soldered to this XT60 connector, useful in drones and hobbyist activities. And then 1 signal wire, which I've terminated into this little bucket connector here. But really anything you have on hand will do, including just a simple solder joint. So in order to power up these lights, and in theory, it should be this simple. Hook up your lights to an adequate 5-volt power supply, and then plug in the signal wire to pin 6 or your pulse width modulation pin of choice through a resistor of 200 to 300 ohms or so. And then it might be also tempting to power the Arduino with this 5 volts, since that's all the Arduino needs. Problem is, with these lights, a large number of lights, say 300 lights, draws a lot of power, especially when changing rapidly from bright to dark. So powering the Arduino with a separate power supply is advisable. So how much power do we need? Each of these lights draws approximately 60 milliamps of power, running at 5 volts. So a strand of 300 lights would draw approximately 18,000 milliamps or 18 amps of power, running at 5 volts. A little power supply, like this USB one that I happen to have, provides 5 volts, but only provides about 2 amps of power, or 10 watts, which is enough to run 33 lights or so at full white. So this might be enough to power the Arduino, but it's definitely not enough to run all of these. For that, we're going to need something like this, which says it's capable of providing 30 amps of power, or 150 watts. So that is approximately enough to run a little over 400 lights. So that should be good to go. But very important, make sure if you're running a second power supply, connect all grounds together. The ground of the Arduino needs to be connected into the ground of your master 5-volt power supply, or bad things will happen. So with that in mind, let's plug it in. And that should do it. We have our signal line connected via 200 to 300 ohm resistor. We have our power lined up. Red is positive and black is negative. We have an extra ground wire connecting our high power circuit to our low power circuit. So now all that remains is to plug things in and turn it on. So making sure that we turn on the main power first before we turn on the brains. And now, there we go. Our beautiful animation that we've created. And that's all it takes to connect a bunch of WS2811 lights or any other single signal wire. Thank you, Leo. Your presence is appreciated. One final note. I said connect all grounds, just in case you were curious. If I were to move this extra ground line, the lights start to freak out. even though these both say 5 volts, there's a very small difference between their 5 volts. And since the only connection that they share in common is the signal wire, that means that difference has to get resolved through the signal. So make absolutely sure all the grounds of all your power lines are connected. And it should be fine. Isn't that right, Leo? Okay, come on, let's go get some tea.